Naina Lal Kidwai also joins us, former president of FICCI, and Naina Lal Kidwai, for you, as I said, what are the big headlines out of this budget? We're talking about the growth orientation, but others making the point also that this perhaps is the government stepping in because the private sector hasn't been able to come up to this kind of investment, which was perhaps expected. We had, of course, the 2 COVID years, but private sector investment should have been growing much more at this time. And what incentives does India Inc. need for that?
You know, there's a FICCI survey which has suggested that many corporates are up at the 70% capacity utilization and may begin to look at the private sector investment going forward now in this coming year. So you're right, it has been disappointing, but the reason why we haven't seen it is because demand was clearly not there across industries, and supply therefore was sufficient to meet the demand that was there. So any growth that comes into our economy, which is clearly what this budget is about as well, it's about growth, that investment by government, yes, will indeed create demand and will begin to push private sector in. The other point I would make is the market borrowing from government, it looks pretty decent, and one which will not crowd out the private sector. And I would add, we are seeing the return of the MSMEs, which thus far has been quite an issue for the economy. We saw big companies revive very quickly, but MSMEs struggling. And this is evident in terms of the credit growth, which the economic survey mentions in the January to November 22 period at 30.5%. So credit flow has continued or started in a robust way to MSMEs, which suggests they're alive and kicking. Banks are supporting them. And I think the credit guarantee scheme being, you know, with the 9,000 crores, which will be available to MSMEs, enables them to borrow multiples of that particular guarantee at lower costs because it lowers the risk. And this is a benefit which the middle core of Indian industry, which is so important for us, because that's where the employment is, that's where a lot of the productive manufacturing happens, begins to return. I think we will have a very good year next year. There will be caution because many companies look to international markets and exports, and that may be somewhat abated because of the fears of recession. But domestic demand is there and coming back, and that is going to be important to ensure
the big driver for the Indian economy.